They arrested the wrong man. In 30 minutes, they'd realized just how wrong they were. The afternoon heat shimmered off the cracked pavement of Millbrook's main street. Nothing ever happened in this sleepy corner of America. Population 8,432. One traffic light, two churches, three cops who spent most shifts writing parking tickets. Officer Jake Morrison sat in his patrol car watching dust motes dance in the sunlight. His coffee had gone cold 20 minutes ago. His partner, Officer Ryan Hayes, scrolled through his phone in the passenger seat. Just another dead Tuesday in a dead-end town. They had no idea their lives were about to change forever. Across town, an old man pushed through the doors of Henderson's Market. His name was Thomas Tom Mitchell, 73 years old, silver stubble on his weathered face. A faded green military jacket hung loose on his bony shoulders. He walked with a slight limp. His left knee had never been quite right since... Well, that was a story nobody in Millbrook knew. Tom lived alone in a cabin 5 miles outside town. Most folks had seen him around but couldn't tell you much about him. Just another old-timer counting down his days. Invisible. Forgotten. Exactly how he preferred it. The grocery store's air conditioning hit him like a blessing. Tom grabbed a basket and shuffled toward the bread aisle. His shopping list was simple. Wheat bread, skim milk, chicken soup, batteries for his radio. The same things he bought every Tuesday. A young man in a Yankees hoodie stood at the cereal display, talking loudly on his phone. "Yeah, bro, I'll be there in 20. Just grabbing some stuff." As he gestured wildly, his wallet slipped from his back pocket. It hit the floor with a soft thud. The young man kept walking, oblivious. Tom bent down slowly, his back protested, and picked up the leather wallet. "Excuse me, son," he called out, but the hoodie guy was already turning the corner, still yapping on his phone. That's when everything went sideways. "Hey!" The cashier's voice cut through the store like a knife. "What are you doing?" Tom turned, wallet in hand. The teenage cashier stared at him with wide, accusing eyes. "I saw that! You took his wallet!" "No, I was just—" "Manager, manager!" she screamed. "We got a thief!" Other shoppers turned to stare. A mother pulled her child closer. Tom's face flushed. "Young lady, you're mistaken. He dropped it. I was trying to—" The manager, a thick-necked man named Carl, barreled over. His face was already red with righteous anger. "Drop it! I'm trying to explain. I said drop it!" Tom set the wallet on the counter, his hands trembling slightly. Not from fear, from something else, something deeper. "This is a misunderstanding," he said quietly. Carl grabbed his phone. "Cops are on their way. Don't you move." Tom stood perfectly still. His breathing remained steady, controlled, like he'd been trained. In the back of his mind, old instincts whispered warnings. Exit points, defensive positions, threat assessment. He pushed them down. This wasn't Baghdad, it wasn't Kabul, it was just Millbrook. But his body remembered. Jake and Ryan arrived 4 minutes later. Carl met them at the door, practically vibrating with excitement. "That's him! The old guy! Caught him red-handed stealing some kid's wallet." Jake approached Tom carefully. 28 years old, 3 years on the force. Biggest arrest to date was a drunk driver. "Sir, I need you to turn around." Tom met his eyes. There was something in that gaze, a depth, a weight, that made Jake hesitate for just a second. Then training kicked in. "Turn around, hands behind your back." "Officer Morrison," Tom read his name tag, "there's been a mistake." The gentleman dropped his wallet. "I was simply—" "Save it for the station," Ryan interrupted, already pulling out his cuffs. "Hands behind your back. Now." Tom's jaw tightened. For one brief moment, something flickered across his face. Not fear, not anger, something else. Disappointment, maybe. Then it was gone. He turned around slowly. The cuffs clicked cold against his wrists. As they let him out, Tom caught his reflection in the store window. An old man in handcuffs. Is this what it had come to? After everything he'd done, everything he'd sacrificed, reduced to a common thief in the eyes of his own countrymen? The ride to the station took 12 minutes. Tom said nothing. Jake kept glancing in the rearview mirror. The old man sat ramrod straight, eyes forward, breathing steady. Most perps either wouldn't shut up or looked scared. This guy looked like he was meditating. Stealing at your age, Ryan muttered. What's wrong with people? Tom didn't respond. At the station, they processed him like any other suspect. Fingerprints, mugshot, personal effects. Ryan tossed Tom's jacket onto the evidence table with unnecessary force. Empty your pockets. Tom complied. Keys, a folded grocery list, $43 in cash. A pill bottle, heart medication. And from an inner pocket, something that made Jake pause. A photograph, black and white, worn at the edges. It showed a younger Tom in military dress uniform, standing next to another soldier. Both men wore berets, special forces tabs on their shoulders. Behind them, barely visible, was what looked like a burned-out building. Who's this? Jake asked. Tom's eyes softened. My brother, Danny, KIA 1969. Jake set the photo aside carefully. Something about the way Tom said those three letters, KIA, killed in action, made his chest tighten. They led Tom to holding cell B, 8 by 10 feet, concrete bench, stainless steel toilet. The door clanged shut with finality. Tom sat on the bench, hands folded in his lap. He'd been in worse places, much worse. At least this one didn't smell like death. Back at the evidence table, Jake continued cataloging Tom's belongings. Ryan had already wandered off to flirt with the dispatcher. Jake lifted the jacket, feeling its weight, heavier than it looked. His fingers found a hidden pocket along the inner lining. Inside was a badge. Not just any badge. Jake's blood ran cold. The metal caught the fluorescent lights, revealing an eagle clutching arrows in an olive branch. Below it, etched in precise letters, Department of Defense, Special Access Program, Clearance Level Ultra. Ryan, Jake's voice came out strangled. Get over here. Ryan sauntered over. What's... He stopped mid-sentence. Is that real? I don't know. Jake's hands shook slightly. But look at this. Tucked behind the badge was an ID card, different from any military ID Jake had ever seen. Tom's photo, but the text was mostly redacted. Black bars covered everything except his name and a phone number labeled an emergency verification. Should we call it? Ryan asked. Jake was already dialing. The phone rang once. Identify yourself. The voice on the other end was sharp, professional, and somehow terrifying. This is Officer Jake Morrison, Millbrook Police Department. We have an individual in custody named Thomas Mitchell. We found this number in his... Stop talking. The voice cut him off. Repeat the name. Thomas Mitchell. Silence. Jake could hear typing in the background. Then, Jesus Christ. More typing, urgent voices in the background. Then the voice returning it harder now. Listen very carefully, Officer Morrison. Is Mr. Mitchell secure? He's in a holding cell. Good. Lock down your station. No one in or out. Do not speak to him. Do not interrogate him. Do not allow anyone else near him. A team will be there in 30 minutes. Wait, what team? Who is this? Agent David Chen, FBI Counterterrorism Division. 30 minutes, officer. Lock it down. The line went dead. Jake stared at the phone. His hand was shaking now. Ryan, lock the front door. What? Why? Just do it. Ryan had never seen Jake like this. He ran to secure the entrance. Jake grabbed at the desk sergeant and, no one comes in or out for the next half hour. No one. What's going on? I don't know. Jake glanced toward the holding cells. Through the small window, he could see Tom still sitting calmly, hadn't moved an inch. But I think we just arrested someone we really shouldn't have. 28 minutes later, Jake heard the engines. 3 black Suburbans roared into the parking lot. Men and women in dark suits emerged with military precision. They moved like a unit, each knowing exactly where to go. The lead agent, a woman with steel gray hair pulled back tight, approached the locked door. Jake let them in. Sarah Walker, FBI, where is he? Jake pointed toward the holding cells. Agent Walker's team spread out, securing the building with practiced efficiency. She strode towards cell B, Jake trailing behind. Through the window, Tom looked up. A slight smile crossed his weathered face. Agent Walker unlocked the door herself. Then she did something that made Jake's jaw drop. She saluted. Mr. Mitchell, On behalf of the United States government, I apologize for this situation. We're here to escort you home. Tom rose slowly, his knees creaking. Took you long enough, Sarah. Traffic was murder. She helped him out of the cell, her hand gentle on his elbow. The director wants to know if you're hurt. Just my pride. Tom glanced at Jake. These boys were just doing their job. Agent Walker's expression hardened as she turned to Jake. Conference room now. 5 minutes later, Jake and Ryan sat across from Agent Walker. She dismissed the other agents, leaving just the three of them. A tablet lay on the table between them. Screen marked dark. Do you know who you arrested today? Both officers shook their heads. Walker activated the tablet. A file appeared. Most of it was redacted, black lines covering entire paragraphs. But what Jake could read made his stomach drop. Thomas Mitchell, enlisted 1968, Special Forces, 3 tours in Vietnam, recruited into classified operations 1974. The rest is need to know, and you don't need to know. She swiped to another page, more black lines. A few visible words jumped out. Tehran. Prevented. Nuclear. Thousands saved. Another swipe. A photograph of Tom, much younger, shaking hands with a president Jake recognized from history books. This man has prevented more catastrophes than you can imagine. Terrorist attacks that never made the news because he stopped them first. Assassinations that never happened. Cyber warfare that never launched. He saved more American lives than anyone will ever know. Ryan's face had gone pale. We didn't know. Of course you didn't. Walker's voice softened slightly. That's the point. Men like Tom Mitchell don't wear their service on their sleeves. They don't brag in bars or put bumper stickers on their cars. They serve in silence and retire in obscurity. Jake thought about the handcuffs, the way they'd march Tom out like a common criminal. Will there be consequences? For us? Walker studied them for a long moment. That depends on Mr. Mitchell. He has friends in very high places, people who owe him their lives. If he wanted to make your lives difficult, she let the threat hang. But knowing Tom, he won't. He's not that kind of man. She stood to leave, then paused. A word of advice, officers. That badge you wear comes with responsibility. Part of that responsibility is remembering that every person you encounter has a story. Some of those stories would humble you. Some would terrify you. Today you met a genuine American hero, and you treated him like garbage. Learn from this. After the FBI convoy left, Jake and Ryan sat in stunned silence. The station felt different now, smaller. Their uniforms felt heavier. We need to apologize, Jake said finally. Ryan nodded. How? They took him. We don't even know where he lives, but Jake remembered the cabin 5 miles out. The next morning, off duty and out of uniform, he drove the winding road through the pines. The cabin was small but well-maintained. An American flag hung from the porch. Jake knocked. No answer. He knocked again. "It's open," came a voice from inside. Jake entered carefully. Tom sat at a simple wooden table, cleaning what looked like an old service pistol. His movements were precise, practiced, muscle memory from decades past. "Officer Morrison." Tom didn't look up. "Coffee's fresh if you want some." Jake poured himself a cup with shaking hands. "Mr. Mitchell, I came to apologize. What we did yesterday was wrong. We didn't listen. We just assumed." "Sit down, son." Jake sat. Tom finished cleaning the pistol, set it aside, and finally met his eyes. "You know what the hardest part of my job was? It wasn't the danger, wasn't the violence. It was coming home. Walking among the people I'd sworn to protect and knowing they'd never know. Couldn't know. That was the sacrifice." He sipped his coffee. "Yesterday hurt, not the arrest. I've been in worse spots. What hurt was seeing how quick you were to judge, how easy it was to see an old man and assume the worst." "I'm sorry, truly." Tom studied him. "You're young. You'll see a lot of people at their worst in this job. It's easy to get cynical, to stop seeing people and start seeing problems. Don't let that happen." He stood, walked to an old bookshelf, and pulled out a small wooden box. Inside was a collection of medals, ribbons, and coins. He selected one, a challenge coin, and placed it in Jake's palm. This was given to me by a man whose life I saved in Beirut. He went on to become a senator, helped pass legislation that's protected millions, all because he lived to see another day. The coin was heavy, real silver. On one side an eagle, on the other a simple phrase, quiet professional. Every person you meet is fighting battles you know nothing about, Tom continued. Some are fighting addiction, some are fighting poverty. Some, like me, fought wars in shadows so others could live in light. Remember that. Jake clutched the coin. I will, I promise. As he stood to leave, Tom called out, Officer Morrison? Yes, sir? That young man whose wallet I picked up? His name's Mike Sullivan, works at the hardware store. He's got a new baby at home and exactly $12 in that wallet, probably all he had till payday. Jake blinked. How do you know that? Tom smiled. Old habits. I notice things. Maybe you could return it to him. Tell him an old man found it and wanted to help. Jake nodded. I'll do that today. Good man. Driving back to town, Jake felt the weight of the coin in his pocket. He thought about all the times he'd made assumptions, all the people he'd written off based on appearance or circumstance. He found Mike Sullivan at work, handed him the wallet. The young man's eyes filled with tears. Oh, thank God. I thought, with the baby and bills, thank you. Don't thank me, Jake said. Thank the old man who made sure it got back to you. That afternoon, Jake returned to the station changed. He told the story to the other officers. Word spread. Within days, everyone knew about Tom Mitchell. Not the classified stuff. That stayed buried. But they knew they'd had a hero in their cells and hadn't recognized him. The department changed after that. Small ways at first. Officers took more time to listen. They asked more questions before making assumptions. They remembered that everyone had a story worth hearing. Tom noticed the change. From his cabin, he watched the town with eyes that had seen too much but still hoped for better. Sometimes Jake would visit, bringing coffee and sitting in comfortable silence. Tom would share small stories. Nothing classified, just wisdom earned through years of service. You know what made me good at my job? Tom asked one morning. What's that? I never forgot that the people I was protecting were worth it. Even when they disappointed me. Even when they were cruel or stupid or careless. They were still worth saving. Jake thought about that often, on difficult calls, when dealing with difficult people. He'd feel the weight of the coin in his pocket and remember, everyone's fighting battles. Everyone has a story. Everyone's worth saving. Years later, when Jake had gray in his own hair and rookies under his command, he'd tell them about the day they arrested a hero, how assumptions nearly destroyed a good man's dignity, how one moment of prejudice could have cost them the chance to learn from someone extraordinary. And he'd always end with Tom's words, we all make mistakes. What matters is what we learn from them. Stay sharp, stay humble. Remember that the quietest people often carry the loudest stories. Tom Mitchell lived another 7 years. When he passed, quietly in his sleep, his funeral surprised everyone. Cars with government plates filled the church parking lot. Men and women in dress uniforms stood at attention. A general gave the eulogy, talking in careful terms about service and sacrifice. Jake stood in the back, the challenge coin in his hand. He'd carried it every day since Tom gave it to him. As they lowered the casket, a formation of jets roared overhead. The missing man formation, a final salute to a warrior. After the service, Agent Walker found Jake. She'd aged too, but her eyes were still sharp. He spoke highly of you, she said. Said you learned the lesson that mattered. What lesson was that? That heroes don't always wear capes or uniforms. Sometimes they wear faded army jackets and walk with limps. Sometimes they're invisible until the moment you need them most. She handed him an envelope. Inside was a photo, Tom in his younger days, standing with his team, warriors in the shadows, protectors unknown. On the back, in Tom's shaky handwriting, for Officer Morrison, never forget, we serve so others can sleep peacefully, even when they don't know we exist. Especially then. Jake framed that photo, hung it in his office. Every rookie who came through saw it, heard the story, how a moment of carelessness almost dishonored a hero, how a moment of humility taught a lesson that changed a department. The coin still sits on Jake's desk. Sometimes, when faced with difficult decisions, he holds it, feels its weight, remembers an old man who picked up a dropped wallet and got arrested for his kindness, remembers how wrong they'd been, how much they'd nearly lost. And he remembers Tom's greatest lesson. Look closer, listen harder. Everyone has a story. Everyone deserves respect until they prove otherwise. And sometimes, just sometimes, the person you're quickest to judge might be the very hero who kept you safe all along. In Millbrook, they still talk about it. The day the FBI came to town. The day they learned that heroes walk among us unnoticed and unappreciated. The day a routine arrest became a lesson in humility that echoed through the years. Tom Mitchell never asked for recognition, never wanted parades or statues. He served in silence and lived in peace. But his legacy lived on in every officer who learned to see beyond appearances, in every moment of patience when judgment would have been easier, in every choice to listen when assuming would have been faster. That's how heroes really save the world, not just through dramatic acts in foreign lands, but through quiet lessons in small towns, through patience when faced with ignorance, through dignity when robbed of respect, through forgiveness when anger would be justified. The wallet was returned, the mistake was forgiven, the lesson was learned. And somewhere in whatever comes after, Tom Mitchell finally got to rest. His war was over, his watch complete. His final mission, teaching young officers to see with clearer eyes, accomplished. In the end, that's all any hero really wants. Not medals or recognition, but the knowledge that their sacrifice mattered, that the world they protected might become worthy of that protection. One small town, one big lesson, one quiet hero who changed everything simply by being himself. The quietest people really do carry the loudest stories, and sometimes, if we're lucky, they share them with us before it's too late.